Okay, so I'm Dara Perez, Good Voice Elk, and this is Wind River Grow Our Own 307. And every week we have these weekly Zoom meetings and we talk about different topics, different items. We learned about Anasazi beans with Benita. We've learned about kombucha from Rory. We've learned about um, we've learned about choke cherries last weekend. And today we're going to be talking about garden nutrition, and we have Jill Fabricius. Is that how you say it, Jill? Hopefully I didn't mess it up too much. So we have Jill Fabricius here, and she is going to talk about garden nutrients and what kind of nutrition our gardens can provide us. And so she's going to talk about that. And so another thing we're going to do today is we usually do our weekly giveaway. And so let me turn my camera around 1 second. So at the end of the Zoom meeting today, we'll be giving away this rose bush. And so we'll do a drawing for that. And so we'll do that. Some other things we've been doing is, we've been doing the garden boxes. We kind of took a slight break because, we had to get out, get tilling done. We have some volunteers, but some of them, are scared to work on the saws and use the power tools. And so, for liability issues, Byron and I kind of just stay and do that. So, but we haven't been able to, but hopefully we can get back on that so we can provide the boxes to community. We're kind of back ordered right now. Things are going great. We've been, connecting with a lot of amazing people. Wind River Farm to Plate, they gave us a large donation of $500 on our GoFundMe. And so, I want to give a big shout out to them. And they also contacted and said that they have some seeds because they started a seed library. So they're going to provide some more seeds to people here in the community. And so we'll go pick those up. Let's see. So some other things that are going on, we got to get planted. We have 4 Quad W missional internship. They're the youth 18 to 26. We got 4 of them that are joining us every Tuesday. And so this past Tuesday, we were able to get tilled and planted over at the community garden at Central Wyoming College. We have 3 plots over there, and so we were able to get those going, get ready. We went to Sprouts and got some seedlings. So we'll be getting that all ready, and I really like it over there because it's self-watering, and that, what better can you get than that? So there's that. And then we also have another community garden where we have our corn, our beans, and our squash, and we watered it yesterday and saw that our corn is coming up, and so that's exciting. What else? So we also are putting together a short documentary for Chessie. It's going to be an event that she's helping put together. So we're working on that, but we're also working on a longer documentary. And so we'll be traveling to Boulder to hopefully in person interview Darlene, if that would be okay. And so maybe she can talk about that later when it comes to her. So yeah, we would like to do that and interview other people. Chessie, we would like to interview you as well. But yeah, so many great things are happening. Oh yeah, another big thing that happened this past week, we were able to get the 10 boxes that were made. We were able to purchase the lumber and stuff for the boxes, and we made the boxes for the Wind River Diabetes Program, and so we delivered those. Those are in. They're going to get planted, and this coming Tuesday with the interns, we're going to paint the tires for the flowers. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Tanika.
Good morning, everybody. I guess I'll start with giving a shout out to Amber. The other day in Casper, she donated $300 worth of quality organic soil. It was just lucky by chance. Me and Cass went down to go shopping for our starter kits because we kind of depleted everything here at Sutherland's, Walmart. So we didn't have the little pots, the tools that we needed, and the garden shears that go in those kits. So we went down to Casper for this to see that if they're Sutherland's, and they have 2 Walmarts and a few other places. Well, they have more options. And in line at one of the Walmarts, a lady behind us was like, "Wow, that's a lot of stuff for." Like, what are you guys doing? We explained to her that we were going to donate everything to people within our community, and she overheard us talking to the cashier that we couldn't find topsoil there or at Sutherland's, and she's like, "Hey, wait, I got a friend. She has extra bags. Maybe she could help you out." And so that's what ended up happening. We went to her house, and she gave us 6 large bags of soil. And we left, and not too long after that, they called again and said to meet them at a greenhouse, and they'll go buy $300 worth of more topsoil. So that worked out just by chance, how, you know, being at the right place at the right time and showing that people in our community really do care about each other. I was almost about to cry when they did that. Just their generosity and act of kindness really meant a lot. Dara did mention about the interviews and documentaries, but she forgot to mention that last week she was nominated for an Emmy on her. She produced a documentary last year. It's on PBS. The ancestral foods that she did with LaDawn. So that was nominated for Emmy. I posted on Facebook, but I didn't post it on the Grow Our Own since it's separate. But yeah, so if you guys have a chance, congratulate her on that. I'm excited about the rose bush. We picked up the best one at Sprouts with all the flowers, beautiful. So I'm excited about the drawing today. Today we're going to, from what I understand, we're going to keep the meeting a little bit. Usually we go on to about 2 hours, but we're going to be a little short. Dara wants to go up and get some more choke cherries for our participants. So it's going to be a busy day today. And I'll go ahead and pass that on to, it's showing that Darlene is next.
Sorry about the mask. I'm driving, and when I'm driving in Boulder County, I'm required to wear a mask. So I thought I would make a joke. Why not? But I'm almost to my destination, so I can take it off. And my destination is my hippie godfather's house, where I have my straw bale garden. And I was hoping to get there in time to be able to show you the progress of what's growing there. And I've been negotiating for a long time with my apartment manager about getting a garden space to grow food at the apartment building that I live at. For one thing, it's right underneath my window rather than having to drive a half an hour to get to where my food is. But the other thing is that I wanted to have a quote unquote community garden. I told her I wanted the residents to buy in to the project because this is subsidized housing, and a lot of people there are, you know, the guy that just moved upstairs about 4 months ago, he was living on the streets because he had broken his neck in a construction accident, but kept working for years without having proper attention. And so anyways, now he's got housing, but he's got little of anything, right? And there are other people that are 62 and older, people with mental disabilities, physical disabilities, that it's just an incoherent community in a sense. They just ended up there. It's not like they want to be there. So I and also there's a lot of vagrants, if you will. People in Boulder, they refer to the homeless as a population of people that are challenged, and that's why they can't afford to own a home or afford an apartment. But last time I checked, that was 10 years ago. Low income in Boulder is $60,000 a year. Okay, so nobody can afford to live in Boulder unless you're uber rich and it's your second house. You know what I'm saying? So, and then a lot of people migrate to Boulder, like the fella upstairs. He was in Utah, and he ended up in Boulder because the city of Boulder has this noblesse oblige kind of attitude that, oh, we got to do something to help these people, you know, kind of buy off the fact that they're making it impossible for anybody making less than $60,000 to be able to afford to live there. So helping people to be able to have access to healthy organic food and to understand how that food is grown, because actually if you want to be healthy and organic, it's best to not eat commercially produced meat. So that's what's going on. The guy upstairs wanted to buy in, so he found a bunch of fencing materials for me to use to build the boxes, and I posted pictures of it on Grow Our Own website and the blog, to give you an idea of the first project. And Michael C. helped me to make that first box. I'm going to turn this camera so you can see this. Okay, so this is the progress of what I had planted a few weeks ago. For a while I had what Michael refers to as hot caps on these peppers and tomatoes to give them a chance to get big and enjoy hotter temperatures, because things like cucumbers over here, they like it hot, and they like a lot of nitrogen. And what I use for my nitrogen source is urine and rabbit manure. And then the peppers, I can't expect to get any kind of fruit off of them if I don't give them hot temperatures. Then I just wanted to walk over here and show you the western straw bale. This I planted mostly seeds instead of transplants, and I've got blue corn growing in the three corners here, if you can see that. And then my beans, to do the Three Sisters idea, I planted in pots because I still didn't have anything going on. These, I believe, are going to be hard squash. I think it's a Hubbard squash, and I can talk about that if you guys want me to. The idea of a Hubbard squash is that it grows, it's huge. It can be 3 feet long, and it's got this blue shell to it. It's 3 feet long. It's got this blue shell. It's a hard-shelled squash, and it has this really thick, like orange flesh. And the first time I grew them, I took the biggest couple of them over to the West Slope, where I have a Thanksgiving dinner to go to. And my friend built a bonfire and we heated up a bunch of rocks and we buried the squash with the hot rocks. That's how we had to cook it. It was too big to put into an oven, you know, but the idea behind, I feel, behind growing Hubbard squash is that's another way of building community, because it takes at least 10 people to eat the squash, right? So by doing that kind of, growing those kinds of things, you're getting people together not only to grow something, but to eat it, instead of it being all individualized. Because that's why Hubbard squashes aren't really grown commercially, because when people go and take their shopping cart to the grocery store, they're not going to buy a 3-foot-long squash. It has to be cut up and prepared for them and dried, or you know what I'm saying. So anyways, that's the latest and greatest from Boulder, Colorado.
Okay, maybe Benita Knox next.
So greetings, and so given our time on Sunday, I'm at church, so I don't have a picture. I'll send Dara a picture of my Anasazi beans. I am so proud of them. So they are growing in about a 24-inch round big flower pot, and you know, I just throw them in there. They're on their own. They got to do what they got to do, and they are doing well, so well. Just to emphasize again one more point about them, they are a pole bean, so they will need to be staked. They can be eaten green like a string bean, or let them continue all through the fall. Turn brown, that means they're done and they're ready for soup beans. So I just absolutely love them. And given our higher humidity here, I am just convinced they are the bean for Wyoming. And again, I always like the fact that they're done cooking in an hour, and they taste good and they look pretty, and they have a great history lesson for us. So that's all I got. And I know Jill Fabricius, we were in seminary together, her and her husband and I graduated from seminary together at Wartburg Theological Seminary in Dubuque, Iowa. So I had the pleasure to be around and to get to know Jill Fabricius. So excited she's with us today. And that's all I got. Dara, you want to pass it on to somebody?
Sure, Clarice.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Sorry I missed last week, but I needed to haul water. I've got about 150 trees and shrubs that I need watered all through the summer, and I have to haul all of that water. I haven't gotten my raised beds finished yet, but I did get all of my tomatoes and peppers and a couple watermelon plants planted in pots in the garden area. And then I ordered some potato grow bags from Amazon this week. But what I wanted to find out is I have some seed potatoes that I am not going to get planted. They are starting to sprout. And there's probably about 4 or 5 of each of red Norland, Adirondack Blue, and Norcota Russet. So I was wondering if there was anybody there that would be interested in those. And if so, I would get them shipped out on Wednesday when I go to town.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we'll take them. If you can see behind me, we're actually delivering this huge potato box today to a participant. Oh wait, I'll see if I can flip my camera around. So we're delivering this huge potato box to them, and yeah, I'll take some and give them to them if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. I'd rather see them go to somebody that's going to get them planted, because I'm not going to get them all planted this year.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And we'll get together later for directions, address, and stuff.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
All
And
righty.
that's
And
all I have
Ches-
right now.
Chesty, do you want to go next?
Sure. So, yeah, I was going to plant some more seeds this weekend, but Dara told me that with the full moon, we shouldn't be planting right now. So I'd like for you to talk a little more about that, Dara. But I am so excited about my corn coming up, and and also my Anasazi beans. I planted in between my corn and my Anasazi beans, so that the corn can be stalks for the Anasazi beans. My only concern is that I read later that I should have planted the corn well ahead of the beans so that it was up there before the beans start growing. And my tomato plants are coming along. I know last week I told you that one of them was kind of struggling, and somebody suggested I put some mulch around it, and that did it. It was drying out too quickly. I was watering it well, but I think the water was just draining away. My carrots are starting to pop up, and before too long, I'll be able to thin those out. I don't know if you can see them or not. They're just little tiny things. They come up. I am just so excited about my garden, and and I'm just so excited about what Grow Our Own is doing, and I love when I check Facebook, seeing posts about all the work that you're doing. So with that, I'll pass it on.
Thank you, Chessie. And maybe when it comes around to people, because what I was finding out was about like the moon cycles and the planting. So maybe somebody could help us better clarify. I think like right now is the time to plant things that grow in the ground. Is that right? Until the new moon, and then like from the new moon to the full moon, that's when you plant things so they have a stronger root system for plants that grow above. So if anybody knows anything about that, please talk about it. And we'll go on to the next person, would be Ladon.
Hello, everybody. Good to see everyone and hear all the exciting stuff that you're doing in your gardens. Yes, I had planned to transplant this weekend, and I was transplanting because I thought best time is the full moon, and then it was like, okay, maybe I need to check into that. And so I looked on the Farmer's Almanac, and it's like, do not plant on the full moon. And you're right, Dara. Yesterday and today is for root vegetables. Good to plant root vegetables and onions and whatever else. And what I did learn is that the moon, so powerful that it draws moisture, is it will just suck the moisture right out of the plant. And so it's you want to give it a lot of moisture, a lot of nutrients, and so it will stress the plant is what I understand. All internet, nothing I knew before I went to Google. And so now I'm waiting. I'm waiting to transplant, which is not until the 11th and the 12th. So planning to do that, and also tomorrow I get to fertilize. So it's really interesting how the Farmer's Almanac just gives you a what it is that you need to be doing on certain days to get the best results. So with that, don't really have any more to add. Just doing a lot of just general yard stuff, just trying to get, boxes in order so I can do transplanting, and, just trying to figure out. And, I always keep in mind the grasshopper thing. And And when I went and checked, I don't know, like a couple of weeks ago, I think I told you last time, you know, you go like this on the grass, and if you can see these little white specks, they're there. So they were there a couple of weeks ago, but then weirdly, the past few times that I've gone out and checked, there weren't any. So I don't know, you know, I mean, I know that there's this thing about bacteria that if, I don't know, or moist or what it is, that it will kill them. So I'm hoping that's the case. But I bought tons of netting, and I found that doing research on the internet, that tool is the cheapest and the most resistant. You know,
It means to toss away.
Yeah, my brother and my dad's name is Chuck.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Chucks are okay. They're safe. We're weird, but we're safe. And what's your
I
name?
don't know who that is, but can you put your mic on mute, please?
Yours grow in the gardens. We've met. I help carry your furniture.
Sorry, Ladon.
yeah, no problem. Kind of forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, the whole tool thing is that, and you can buy it in bolts, fabric bolts, and really inexpensive off of eBay. So I'll let you know how that works out. And it's really good for seedlings and, you know, protecting. I just have like a lot of birds and whatever else here. So trying to figure this out. Really appreciate the space and all the knowledge that is shared. Thank you, everybody. And I will pass to Teresa.
Good morning, everybody. I just here to listen in today, and I'm really thankful and excited for the donations and for everybody's hard work. I just appreciate this class or this group, and I'm just happy to hear all the good news that's going on, and happy that we're expanding to our communities the knowledge and the abilities to plant. One thing that I didn't share last week about choke cherries was they are, when you guys were talking about choke cherries, then my little granddaughter up in Bismarck, she was having stomach problems, and so my son brought her down here, and she got help through our ways, and they made her choke cherry water, and then they had her drink it, and took her back up to Bismarck, and those doctors said it's all gone. They didn't know because she was getting ready to go see a specialist about her stomach problems, and she was 3 years old. And then when they took her back up there, then that doctor was like, just whatever you guys are doing, keep doing it, because there's nothing wrong with her now. So that was really good to hear. And you know, choke cherries are really important. And I read this article that this native student from the University of Idaho, I think, she did a study and put choke cherries in petri dishes and with cancer cells, and she did, in one she put a whole choke cherry, and then in another one she put the pulp in, and then in another one she put the seed in, and then the other one she put like a ground up seed. And it was the one that the ground up seed that was able to kill those cancer cells. So I really believe that you know, we're raised to know that food is sacred, and it just brings us back to like traditional knowledge that things that we've always known. But you know, we always had choke cherries in our diet, and it just proves the fact that you know, why we never had cancer and diabetes and things like that. So I just thought I'd share that because I didn't get a chance to share it last week about choke cherries, and I'm glad that you guys were able to get choke cherry starts, and so we could start growing them. Traditionally we always lived in Colorado, and it was the Boulder area where we always picked our choke cherries. So it was just good knowledge and a good class, and I'm happy to be here this week. I'm still waiting to plant my garden outside in my boxes. I have 4 boxes, the one that I won and the 3 that I made, and so I'm just excited to be able to be doing that, and I'm finally gonna get to plant outside this week or whenever it's time, according to what you guys have mentioned about the Farmer's Almanac and the cycle of the moon. I'll pay attention to that and try to do things right so my stuff will grow. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Let's see who, Nancy?
Okay, right with you. Okay, hi, I'm just here. I'm in Laramie, Wyoming, and I'm here just listening. I believe a member of my committee has spoken with Ms. Perez this week, Nancy Wydell, and we're very excited about this project, and we're just here to listen and learn a little bit more. Do you have any questions of me? I want to say that I am the social worker at the downtown clinic in Laramie, and we have a large garden behind our building, which is kept by volunteers and some of our clients, where we grow fresh fruits for our families that we serve. And so if you want to see our garden, we're very proud of our garden. And if you would like to see our garden sometime, stop by and I'll get you there.
We would love to make a visit to see your garden.
Yeah, it's they started it about 3 or 4 years ago, and so throughout the summer we have. It's interesting to hear that a lot of the vegetables that you're talking about is what we grow so throughout we always have fresh fruits and fresh vegetables that our clients can take. We're still adjusting to the pandemic, so we are growing our garden. So how we get them to our clients is another matter.
Yeah, we've been trying to, stay safe. We wear masks when we go and deliver. We wear, the protection that we do, but it's starting to get tricky. I'm noticing there's more people out there that are not, taking it as serious, and so, yeah, so we're hoping to get all our forms digitized. That's one thing that we want to do so that we don't have to have so much interaction with, the participants that we're delivering things to. So yeah, we're learning more as we go with the pandemic as well. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you for having me. I'm listening and learning a lot, and I hope that you'll be hearing from us soon.
Perfect, thank you. All right, Danelle, and then Chrissy after Danelle.
Hey, I'm just basically here to listen and learn, and gain more knowledge in planting. And I want to thank you guys for the soil yesterday. It helped me a lot in the rest of what I needed to do. But yeah, my box is coming along pretty good, and I'm just proud of it and happy, and my plants are growing. Some of the strawberries we had to just throw away because they didn't make it. They passed away. But like you said, it's a learning experience, so we learn as we go. And I want to apologize for not being able to continuously help. I mean, I help when I can, but with work and me working graveyards and my schedule being all crazy, yeah, it kind of makes me feel bad, but you know, you guys, I'm here when I can help out. And like I said, you guys are more than welcome to use my truck if I'm unable to help that day or any day. So, and thank you for giving me that opportunity to help you guys. I mean, it is a good feeling, rewarding feeling, and makes you feel good to be able to help out. That's all. I'll pass it on.
Chrissy?
Hi. Sorry guys, I'm just kind of laying in bed today, taking it easy. I also wanted to say congratulations to Grow Our Own. Everybody's doing such an awesome job helping each other. And, my garden's hanging in there since I really can't get out there too much. Sophia's been watering it for me. She forgot one morning and we lost the broccoli. But everything else seems to be going pretty good. I don't know. I appreciate you, Dara. You and Byron are just rock stars. I don't know. I feel like Danelle, I'm really sorry that I haven't been able to help you due to the knee surgery, but I'll be up and running in no time. Until then, you guys will just have to settle for coming by at the end of the day and getting pizza or something. Aw. But yeah, I'm really proud of everybody, and everybody's gardens look really great. And I'll pass it. I know you girls have a lot to do today, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jill, give the floor to you.
Thanks, Sarah. And I'm so thankful to hear from everyone in all of your gardens and your pictures and hearing what you're doing. I'm also super grateful to be here. So thank you for letting me join and share some time. And Fabricius is kind of hard. I know like the pronunciation, you could just say Jill Keith is a lot easier. It's in there because it's now like my middle name. Yeah, so Dara had invited me to join today. Again, I'm appreciative of that because I had heard a little bit about Grow Our Own and was really curious about learning more about it and what is happening with that. Just a little bit about me. My background is in nutrition and dietetics. I've been a registered dietitian since like 2000. So I teach nutrition at UW. And a lot of, I guess, the part of nutrition that I'm pretty passionate about is looking at sort of embracing more of a traditional diet, which includes a lot of fruits and vegetables and things from the earth that's not westernized style of eating. Because westernized style of eating has a lot of more of like refined carbohydrates and higher meat and dairy and those types of things. So yeah, in my classes, I talk a lot about fruits and vegetables and just foods that we can gather and how that helps overall nutrition. So I would love to answer questions that you guys have. I have a short, just kind of a handout that I'll definitely, if it's okay, I can send it to the email list. That way, yeah, I'll do that. But I can share it now if that would be interesting. Does that sound okay? Okay. So let me share, let's see where it is on my share screen part. So can everyone see that?
Perfect.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. So one of my favorite things with gardening, because I have kids that don't always eat vegetables or don't always love vegetables, is the part of if you plant a garden and you're growing garden, and even if your stuff doesn't do well or some stuff dies, and a lot of that, I've had gardens in North Dakota and Minnesota, and now here trying to have that in Laramie. And lots of times we plant stuff and then it freezes and everything dies, or we don't get very good production from it or other things like that. But the kind of the 1, 2, 3 over there in this handout is that you benefit, there's health benefits from gardening, even if you don't actually eat any of it. So it's obviously better if you eat it, right? But if you don't eat it, you're out and about, you have physical activity, you know, just having your hands in the dirt and being part of the earth in that way. So the physical activity piece, sunshine piece, I mean, one of our best sources of vitamin D is from the sun. We actually don't have a lot of foods that naturally contain vitamin D, and even added vitamin D is in dairy foods, which again, not a traditional food and not really part of everybody's dietary patterns. So dairy as a vitamin D source isn't always really dependable either. So the sunshine piece, even if you don't eat it. And then just, you know, there's other benefits as well, but I guess the top 3 are things that I think of is, you know, knowing where your food comes from. And being able to pick something, a fruit or a vegetable out of your backyard or out of your garden that's next to your house, or out of a community garden that's in your town, it has to be, it's much less processed, even if, and it has to travel much less distance. And anytime we can eat it quicker versus having it processed or having to travel a long ways, it preserves more of the nutritional content. So having your own garden, you know, the nutrition that comes from that, it's just closer to you and you get more of it because it's close to you and doesn't have to go very far. There's other things that beyond that list of 3 things, you know, when you talk about mental health and self-esteem, there is literature on that, right? Of just working with the earth and gardening and growing your food that is really healthy. So I just like to highlight those because that's, even if you're gardening with your kids or you're trying to get them to help you weed or you're trying to get them to help you like pick the corn or get the big zucchini out or whatever, even if they don't love to eat it, they're still getting some of those nutritional benefits of gardening. And then just a couple of other things that are on this list. Again, if there's questions that you guys have that I can ask, I would love to do that. I'll kind of keep plugging away on just kind of pointing things out on this. If you guys want to interrupt me or I guess the chat box is there too in case anybody has any specific questions. But again, probably stuff on this list isn't really super surprising to anyone. I mean, we know that fruits and veggies are healthy. We know garden produce is something really good for us to eat. You know, when you look at the recommended amount, that 2 cups of fruit or 2.5 cups of vegetables per day, that's, you know, mostly that's for adults, right? When you look for kids, they can have a little bit lower amounts of that. And so it varies on whatever your calorie level is. But my point, I guess I like to point out for that is that most of us aren't doing that. Like most of us in the US, we get like less than half of that for how much fruits and vegetables we actually consume. And that's always, I guess, a thing of just how do we get to eat more, or how can we make eating fruits and vegetables easier for us so that we do eat them? And that's from, I mean, gardening can help that, right? So when we look at, you know, what the different things you can protect against, and I guess this is also maybe just following up on what Teresa pointed out about choke cherries, right? About some of the diseases and the health that fruits and vegetables help with, right? So like high cholesterol, helps prevent heart disease, high blood pressure, troubles with your stomach or your intestines, right? The GI. Certain types of cancer, there's really literature that actually points to eating more vegetables and eating more fruits that can actually help prevent cancer. And then other stuff, right? Beyond like the disease stuff, just helping to promote good growth and development, your eyes and skin and wound healing and that kind of stuff. So there's lots of specifics you can get into. And I got a question from Dara talking about kale. So I'll scroll down and then I can scroll back up if we want to, because there's definitely these pieces about the complex carbs and all that kind of stuff, right? Again, I could talk about that all day, but that's like probably not the very specifics of what is helpful. So I put together a chart of just kind of some common vegetables that are grown in the garden. Obviously, it's not all encompassing, and different types of squash and other things like that would, again, that you could find it's not an exhaustive list really. But for kale, let's go to like the green leafy lettuce column here, or the row. And basically everything on this list, you can see all of these kinds of nutrients that come from that: vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, and green leafies are pretty awesome. Just in general, any that you would plant, they're going to be great. When you look at kale, because it's like the darker the color, usually the more intense the phytochemical content. So the phytochemical column is over here. And if you haven't heard of phytochemicals before, it's really just knowing that there's things in plants that are good for you. And it's just a different category than vitamins and minerals. So we got tons of vitamins and minerals from our fruits and veggies, but the phytochemicals, they're bioactive components of plants that we don't categorize they can't be categorized as a vitamin or mineral. And so one of the big points with that is, like, how many of you guys have ever had a friend or someone that said, well, I don't love fruits and vegetables, but I take a multivitamin, right? Yeah, I totally have. A lot of people like say that to me all the time. And that doesn't mean that multivitamins or minerals are bad, right? A multivitamin mineral supplement, it can certainly be, something that be helpful, right? But it can never be better than or take the place of eating the actual fruits and vegetables. And this whole column on phytochemicals can really, if you're talking back to your friends about all your good benefits and all the good work you guys are doing with gardening and how important it is to eat the fruits and vegetables, this is, even if somebody takes a multivitamin and gets some of those and gets some of the minerals, those bioactive components of plants, you can't take those in a pill form. So the multivitamin and mineral supplements people take, they can't get these phytochemicals. So to your point, Dara, about the kale, that's, I would say kale between this green leafy column and the beet greens column, right? There are these green leafies that are really high in beta carotene, in your potassium, in phosphorus, in phytochemicals. And when you look at, let's look at the beet column compared to the beet greens. And beets are awesome. I don't know, but I love beets, and I love the beets that, like the regular beets. I sometimes will eat the beet greens too and add those to my salads. They're a little bit stronger flavor, right? Like bitter in the same way that maybe kale is. I don't know, Dara, do you like kale? Are you interested in kale because you like it so much? Yeah. I can eat kale if I mix it in with other stuff. I don't know if everyone else likes kale. It is a stronger flavor, right? And somewhat bitter and definitely chewier. But it has more of the nutrients and also more of the phytochemicals. So like the beet greens compared to actual beets, the beet greens have the phytochemicals, and beets themselves, they have some, but they're not as well identified. They don't have as many as what would be in the actual beet greens.
So you mentioned that, like, when it's more bitter, that it has more nutrients. Is that like for a lot of the vegetables?
So it's not necessarily the bitterness that means it has more nutrients. Generally, when we talk in the nutrition world of like eating more fruits and vegetables, we'll say the more colorful, the better. And so it doesn't, and there's none that are bad, right? Any vegetable or fruit that people eat, awesome. Like the more the better, because most of us aren't meeting how many we should eat, right? But even so, when you say eat a colorful diet, like the darker, greener, richer colored, like those green leafies like kale and beet greens, usually they do have a higher amount of things like beta carotene and a higher amount of phytochemicals. So it's not necessarily that it's bitter, it's just the matter of fact that it's like a richer, those dark green leafies have a lot of those nutrients. So does that answer your question about kale? Okay.
Yeah, I started growing it last year, and I didn't know that it's so abundant. It just keeps growing as you snip it. It just keeps going up. And so we had some over there at our community garden at the college, and when they I wasn't paying attention when they shut off the water, and so after they shut off the water, they just died. But that was like in September, I believe. So
yeah, and there's lots of, if it grows abundantly and you have a bunch of it and you don't love like the taste of it in a salad or something like that. I mean, there's definitely recipes on like kale chips or other ways to make it that might be more fun, like more acceptable to kids, like they eat it better or something than plain. Go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna ask if there was anybody else that had any questions for you.
well, if you think of any, you can definitely add them to the chat box, or just, I know there's that little like hand raise tool too. I was gonna talk just a second about like when talking about eating colorfully. Sometimes people think like the white ones, like onions and garlic and some of those, they think, oh, like they're not red or purple or green, and so they're not as nutritious, which is not true, right? They're actually, you know, even I put onions on this list and they have a little bit less in terms of like high amounts of some of these other vitamins and minerals and not as many identified phytochemicals. But things like onions and garlic and chives, they're actually on the list of some of the best foods to help prevent cancer from the American Cancer Institute. So a lot of these veggies that even if they're not super brightly colored, they feed your healthy gut bacteria. So they can help overall, you know, just in overall health, I guess. So I can go back up to this one just for a sec. And overall, like on this list, I kind of tried to split it into vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals. Pretty much all of your garden vegetables or fruits that you collect, or if you know somebody that has a apple tree or anything like that, they're going to be a source of all of these, like healthy complex carbohydrates, your vitamins, minerals, fiber. They're low calorie, they're low fat. So that's pretty much across the board, any fruits and vegetables that you would consume. So your question about juicing, Dara, generally depends on how you juice, right? I mean, I think, you know, if you're so like in the nutrition world, if somebody's going to go to the store, if they're not growing their own, right? Like let's say they're going to the store and they're going to buy either or they're going to get a fresh garden produce out of their garden, or they're going to drink orange juice. You can 100% orange juice, you squeeze it yourself, or if you buy it in the store, it's still healthy, right? But most of the time, I would say like don't drink all your stuff in a juice form. Make sure you're eating the actual fruit and vegetable as well. And the reason for that is that this dietary fiber piece, you lose some of that when you're actually going with a juice type product. Now, if you have your own juicer at home and you're putting in all the kale and all the fruits and vegetables and you're including it all in there and then you drink the whole thing, then you're probably getting some of that fiber, right? So then I'd say that's a more kind of nutrient dense way, or you're kind of preserving the nutrients if you're kind of just blending it all up in your blender and drinking it. If you're using a juicer and then just squeezing all the juice out of it, still great source of nutrients, but you do lose some of it. When you know, like let's say you juiced grapefruits or something into grapefruit juice, you know, a lot of that, you're not using any of the skin or all the kind of pieces of it don't necessarily all go through the juicer. So then you're losing some of that, some of those nutrients, and especially that dietary fiber. Okay, so Danica, kale, yeah, yes. For people that are looking at blood glucose levels, fruits and vegetables are great, especially vegetables, because vegetables actually have a slower release. Like vegetables have a less of an impact on your blood glucose levels than fruits do. Fruits are higher carbohydrate, they have more complex carbohydrates, so they would have a quicker influence on blood glucose. But kale, because it's a green leafy vegetable, has pretty lower amounts of carbohydrate. So a lot of the time with diets and carbohydrate counting, or however the diet plan that you're using to try to look at blood glucose levels, including more vegetables is great. So if he likes it, but yeah, with kids, it's also like, it could take like 16 times and it's always overwhelming because you try it and then they don't eat it or they don't like it. But you sometimes have to try things between like 10 and 15 times for that exposure, for people to actually kind of start to like them or to be willing to try them. All right, so Teresa on the kale chips. Maybe what I'll see when I email out to you guys, I could try to see if I can find a recipe. Does anyone else ever make kale chips?
I've ate them before. They're delicious, but I don't know how to make them.
Yep.
So oh, go ahead, Jessie. Have you made them?
Yeah. Yes. I had a tenant who's renting a room from me, and we shared a kitchen, and he made kale chips. And as I recall, he just laid the kale out and made it in the oven. I think maybe he put a little oil or something on them, but it looked really simple, and it was a because I'm not a big kale fan myself, but the kale chips were kind of fun. So.
We're done here. So yeah, you know, maybe like oven 375. You wash them, pat them dry, make sure there's no water on them. Olive oil is what I usually use, and you lay them out, you know, like in cookie sheets, and the salt draws, you know, some of the moisture in them, and those take the salt on. I think it did, and then the olive oil makes them really, you know, tasty. And you can put like seasoning and stuff on them. And the time, you just have to keep checking. And it is an amazing way to, you know, to eat, you know, kale that is like, sometimes not so, like you were talking about, Jill, kind of bitter. Another thing that I do with kale is that if you break the fibers in it, like in a salad, especially like elephant kale, where you strip it off the vine and then you kind of do like this, like when you're also fermenting, you know, you break the fiber in it, and so that then when you mix it, you know, I also mix that up again in the oil, and then I put it in the regular salad. And also do that because you know how kale can be kind of tough and you have to cook it for a really long time. It also helps it cook faster when you kind of break it down. Anyway, passing on. Thank you very much.
So thanks, Teresa. It looks like another question about the difference in store-bought and then growing our own. And definitely a difference, right? The more, if you can have it in your garden and you're growing it in your garden and you're picking it and eating it out of your garden, it's preserving a lot more of its nutritional values. So for example, like on the vitamins list, right? A lot of our vitamins like A and beta carotene and C, well, I guess beta carotene and C, those are water soluble. A and K and D and E are fat soluble. So those water soluble ones, especially, like they break down more, and even some of our fat soluble, they're sensitive to light. So UV exposure, air exposure, heat, all of those things, vitamins in particular are sensitive to. So the longer that they are exposed, or the longer they go from wherever they're produced to the store and then to your table, that's just another in the kind of train, right? Or this kind of process to get to your table, the more nutrients are lost. So you really preserve more of all of those vitamins if you're actually able to have them in your own garden and be able to kind of pick them and eat them right away. Or even if they're stored right in a cool, dark place in your fridge for a little while, or if you process them yourself. So I don't know, Teresa, if you want to know any particular differences, like specific nutrients, or does that answer your question? Okay, awesome. And Dara, your question is, eating the skins of the potatoes healthier than peeling them? Yes, it is. But that doesn't mean if you hate peels that you shouldn't eat potatoes, right? If you hate the peels, or if your kids hate the peels, like whatever it takes, right? For to include those. I sometimes will, my kids don't love the peels all the time. But I'll still, so then I might still peel the potatoes and boil them up, or either kind of stir fry them or something like that to still include them. But maybe I'll sneak some in other ways, like if we do mashed potatoes, leave some of them with the skin on. The biggest thing here, and I went back to this, is because of this dietary fiber. So that's the big, potatoes are a great source of like potassium. I think I've got them on the list kind of here at the bottom, right? Some of those B vitamins, magnesium. They just have more when you eat the peel. And that's usually true with anything. that has an edible peel, right? So even like an apple, the cucumbers I think I have on here with the peel and without up here, right? That you have a little bit higher content of most of the nutrients if it has an edible peel and you eat it. But that's certainly not like to discourage people for, if you don't like the peel on it and you're still eating it, that's awesome. I mean, you're still getting great nutrition. The other thing about this list is these are some of the nutrients that might show up a little bit higher in these, but all of these have other smaller amounts of tons of stuff like manganese, right? Or chromium, some of these other nutrients that we need as part of our diet. I maybe didn't include them here because they might have a much smaller amount, but they still have them. So that's the other thing that in the nutrition kind of world of working with patients and clients and stuff, we talk about the variety. Like if all you ate was beets, or like kale has kind of made it onto these list of kind of superfoods, right? If you only ate those, like that's not usually recommended, right? Eat a variety of all of these because you get a lot of different kinds of nutrients and different colors and different phytochemicals, and it's just a good way then to try to make sure you're getting a variety of those different vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals and dietary fiber. Okay, Dara, so your kombucha. I can't say that I don't drink a lot of kombucha. I've tried it before. What I do know about it is mostly about the fermented aspect, and fermentation is pretty fabulous for your good gut health. So those healthy bacteria in your GI, fermented foods can feed those and actually provide, and can also, like that's actually live bacteria, right? So it's a good source of those what are called probiotics. And again, maybe you guys already talked about this with Rory last week or 2 weeks ago. We did a project with kimchi, which also has the live bacteria and is fermented vegetables, mostly cabbage. And that actually had a really positive influence on people that had like irritable bowel syndrome and symptoms from that. Those fermented foods were really helpful for that because it's good, healthy probiotics, which are the live bacteria. And in kimchi, like when you have the actual cabbage there too, you also have what feeds them. So you have the live bacteria, it's just a probiotic, and then you also have the food that feeds them, which is the prebiotic, and kimchi, which is fermented, has both of those. Does that answer your question?
Perfect. Thank you. Yes.
So does sauerkraut, and that's relatively easy to make at home if you have a large crock and a lot of salt.
Perfect. That's good. That's good to know. And the reason why I asked, so like my kombucha, my mother, I call it the mother, it's been growing. I've noticed it's getting really big, and so I gave one away yesterday to a gal who drinks kombucha, and she was, she picked it up, and I, taught her how to take care of it. And then, so I had to come back and I had to make another one because they were starting to go sideways, inside of the jar. And so kind of separate them a little. But so if anybody's interested, I have an extra one here in Riverton. So yeah, and we'll get you started if you're interested. But do you have anything else, Jill?
Not necessarily, only if there's questions you guys want, or I'm happy to be, even after today, if you guys think of questions or things that you want to know more about nutrition or about something specific. I think my email address was on the Zoom announcement from Dara, so I'm happy to be a resource, wherever, if there's things that you want to know more about or dig in on the actual nutrients or things like that.
I do have a question about when you process tomatoes to the point where you use them to make a tomato sauce for pasta and that type of thing. Does that retain a lot of nutrition?
So interestingly, tomatoes that are processed, I'll scoot down to this one again. actually have higher amounts of what over here in the phytochemicals, the lycopene is actually more accessible and higher in processed tomato products than it is in actual raw tomatoes. So eating processed tomato products, if it's like salsa or a spaghetti sauce that you make, awesome. What might be, you might have a little bit lower levels of some of the water soluble vitamins, depends on kind of how long it takes to process it, but still great sources of a lot of these. Sort of I guess an overall thing is when we talk about blood pressure, potassium and sodium are sort of the big things, right? I mean, a lot of these actually these vegetables contain small amounts of sodium naturally, but the more processed they are, generally the higher the sodium gets and the lower the potassium gets. And that's pretty much, we can pretty much across the board. So it doesn't mean that it's a great thing to process your tomatoes and to still eat them, especially as a way to preserve them and keep them shelf stable over the winter. But generally, as we process, that sodium content's going to go up a little and the potassium's going to go down.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions before we get going? So, Danica.
Yes.
Are you ready for the drawing after, see if we have any more questions?
Yeah, I just wrote the names. I'm separating them now. I did have a few questions. One was for Danelle, if we could use your truck today to go get the choke cherries. Even though I have SUV, those choke cherry trees are very tall. Second question was to, we didn't mention, but we've been throwing ideas around back and forth, Darren and myself, because we do have children that are interested and involved, but we've mentioned having a grow our own junior kind of like for kids. And that one of the first projects that we thought of, well, Dara thought of for them was for them to make scarecrows. And so we really just bounced the idea back and forth, but we haven't actually gone into that because we've been focused on making sure everyone got their starter kits, got soil, got their tilling done. So I just wanted to know if anyone in the community, your caterpillar still hungry? She found a caterpillar, sorry. If there was any ideas from anyone in the group today on how, ideas for the, for kids, for them to be involved, of course, while practicing social distancing. And then another question for Dara was to stop in Laramie on our way to Colorado to see the garden. I thought that would be, kill two birds with one stone type of deal since it's on the way. And the gardening classes about that we were hoping to hopefully start this month or next.
Yeah, we were lucky in that we had. Oops. Okay, let me get this here.
So yeah, and so that's another thing. Amanda Small had reached out, and she's with the University of Wyoming Extension Office, and we had her give us an introduction to the Master Gardening course and the Junior Master Gardening course, and so I believe she's setting up something to get that ready for canning. Also, to get that class going for the fall, I believe. I want to say. So we'll know more on that, and she's also working on getting a course going for soil testing so that we can get people soil tested and see where they're at so we can start building them up for the years to come. Another thing, we have worms. We have got some more worms that we're going to be giving out, so if there's anybody that needs worms for their garden, let us know. Another thing, we got tomato cages. We're starting to pass them out in 3s to people. So, some people, one person yesterday, she told me, she was like, tomato cages. She was like, nobody in my family likes tomatoes. And I was like, oh, okay. So she didn't need tomato cages. But, I'm just learning a lot of interesting things. We go to people's gardens, see what they're growing, and, been seeing a lot of interesting things. And,
I just want to say, anybody who comes to Laramie, we're happy to get you to the garden and also just talk to you more about this project.
Perfect. That
Okay.
sounds great.
So
That
just
sounds
let us
great.
know. Just let us know.
Okay. All right. And so, yeah, so we want to get started with the scarecrow project as well, because I noticed, you know, we're going to have the pests, the birds particularly, and then we're going to have to figure out how we're going to protect from these grasshoppers next. So I'm kind of getting worried about that. You know, I'm starting to see, like LaDon says, you know, you see them out, and we've even seen full grown ones out already. And I'm like, oh, wow. So with that, I don't know if anybody has anything else.
I would suggest calling the extension agent in Johnson County, because I just read their local Buffalo newspaper, and there was a whole thing on grasshoppers and they're expecting it to be worse this year than last year, and what they're planning to do about it. So the extension agency in Johnson County might be a resource.
Okay, yeah, we'll reach out to all of those and see what we can get so that we can help other people. I don't know, is there anything else? Are we ready for the drawing? Okay, are you ready, Danica?
Yeah. I'll set these my notes down. I was hoping my daughter was gonna come back out, but she found a caterpillar on her squash and she won't let it go. It's her best friend now. Okay, so make sure I'm not muted. So excluding myself and Dara and everyone that's not within the Fremont County area, I did make everyone's names. I'll go ahead and pick. And even if they won the week before or 2 weeks before, we still include them. So let's see. Teresa.
Yay! Thank you guys.
Congratulations, it's beautiful.
You got a rose bush.
I'll bring it over as soon as before we go to Lander, I'll bring it over today.
Show us the rose bush.
Oh, I'm so lucky.
Okay, there it is. Like Danica said, it was the most beautiful one there, and yesterday I kind of trimmed it up a little bit to make it look good. So we'll bring it by.
Oh. Dara, I was gonna run out after we get done here. Remember? I'm gonna stop by.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. All right, yeah, we'll see you. That's here. Come pick it up.
All right. Thank you guys.
All right, and I just again want to say thank you, Jill. Appreciate having you. Worked with you last summer with the restoring ancestral foods for the Shoshones. You know, that was great experience, and appreciate you again. I love your work, love everything you're doing. Love everyone else. Benita, Pastor Benita Knox, Clarice, everybody had great things to say. Darlene, I love what you're doing there. I seen the boxes, the posts. I'm like, oh my God, just so inspiring. Chessie, I love you too. I picked up the onions this morning, and so we're gonna get those planted, and we're gonna get the beans. My mom got some these big. I'll show you what we got real quick. She found these online, and these are like some big containers, and we're going to plant the beans in there for community. So we'll get those going. Teresa, we'll see you soon. And Danica, so yeah, we'll go get the choke cherries. She had contacted me, just real quick. She had contacted me and said that somebody was sick. So she said probably about 5 this evening. They're taking somebody off life support or something, or doing something like that. So it'll be 5 this evening. Chrissy, I will see you later. LaDawn, thank you for joining and let us know if you need anything. Nancy, I will be reaching out. And Zanelle, thank you for allowing us to use your truck.
Yeah, yeah. And if you
So
can't reach me, you know, you always can get to Nancy Wydell as well. We work.
perfect. Yeah, I got her email as well. So yeah, I'll be reaching out, and I hope you enjoyed what we're doing today here in the Zoom. And we do this every Sunday. So
I've
maybe you
learned a
can
lot.
join us
Thank you.
again next week. Yes.
Thanks a lot. And hope to see you next week then. All right.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody. Take care.
Stay safe, everybody.
See you.